These berries are sitting on the same hot patio, but only one side will keep producing sweet fruit through summer. On one side, strawberry leaves fold downward by mid-afternoon, blueberry flowers dry before they become fruit, and raspberry canes look green but stop making anything worth picking. Just a few feet away, other containers hold firm leaves, new blossoms, green fruit, and ripe berries at the same time. The difference is not luck, and it is not simply that one gardener watered more. The difference may be hiding inside the containers, where the roots are heating up long before the leaves begin to wilt. A plant label may say full sun, but full sun in coastal Washington is not the same as full sun on a brick patio in Texas. 6 hours of morning light can help a berry plant build flavor, while 6 hours of late afternoon heat reflected from concrete can push the root zone far beyond what the plant can comfortably handle. That is why some berries seem healthy in spring, then slow down just as summer reaches its peak. They may survive, they may even keep growing leaves. But surviving summer is not the same as producing through summer. In this guide, we are going to compare 14 berry crops that can work in containers, but we are not going to pretend they all love the same heat. Some are genuine warm season performers, some are manageable in heat when their roots are protected and their leaves receive afternoon shade. Others belong on cooler northern patios, where summer is bright but not punishing. By the end, you will know which plants fit a hot southern patio, which ones belong in a moderate summer climate, and which berries are better saved for cooler regions. We will judge every plant by 4 practical questions. First, can it continue flowering or filling fruit when summer temperatures rise? Second, can its root system remain healthy in a container without constant rescue? Third, does it offer one concentrated harvest or several smaller harvests across the season? And fourth, does it match the winter and summer pattern where you live? A berry can look perfect at a garden center and still be the wrong plant for your patio if its chill requirement, fruiting habit, or heat tolerance does not match your climate. There is another reason this list is different. We are not choosing plants only for the size of the fruit. A huge berry on a tag means very little if the plant drops its flowers in July, outgrows the patio, or needs a second compatible variety that you did not buy. The best container berry is the one that fits your sunlight, your available space, your watering habits, and the season you actually have. One of the plants on this list can keep flowering after many familiar berries have slowed down, but only if you prevent one hidden container problem. Another can live for years in the same general setup, yet it may turn yellow and stall if the potting mix is only slightly wrong. A third looks compact at the nursery but sends long canes across the patio unless you understand where it produces fruit. Those differences are what turn a random collection of pots into a real berry garden. Before we begin, look at your patio in 3 different ways. Notice where the sun arrives first in the morning. Notice which wall, railing, or floor surface radiates heat late in the day. Then notice which containers dry at the edge while staying wet near the bottom. That last condition is especially deceptive. The top may look dusty, so you water again, but the lower root zone may still be saturated. A plant can appear thirsty because hot roots are struggling, not because the entire pot is dry. The goal is not to keep every leaf perfectly untouched by summer. The goal is to help each plant hold enough healthy foliage, roots, flowers, and developing fruit to deliver a worthwhile harvest. That requires the right berry in the right place. And the fastest place to begin is with the berry most gardeners already recognize, even though the variety name matters far more than the picture on the plant tag. Day-neutral strawberries are one of the strongest starting points for a patio gardener who wants fruit in more than one small wave. The name does not mean the plant ignores temperature. It means flower initiation is less dependent on day length than it is in June-bearing types. Under suitable conditions, a day-neutral plant can carry flowers, green fruit, pink fruit, and fully red berries at the same time. That layered production is exactly what makes it valuable in a small space. But summer heat can interrupt that pattern. When afternoons become intensely hot, a day-neutral strawberry may slow flowering even though the plant remains alive. In a hot region, give it morning sun, protect it from the harshest late-day exposure, and keep the root zone evenly moist rather than repeatedly soaking and drying it. A wide container is usually more useful than an unnecessarily deep one because strawberry roots are relatively shallow and the plant benefits from room around the crown. Good drainage still matters. Water must be able to leave the pot freely. The crown is the short central point where leaves and roots meet. Set it at the soil surface. If you bury it, moisture can remain around the growing point and encourage decline. If you leave the roots exposed, they dry too quickly. This small planting detail is easy to miss when a nursery plant is moved into a decorative container, yet it can decide whether the plant settles in or struggles for weeks. Feed lightly and avoid pushing excessive leafy growth with too much nitrogen. A strawberry plant with large dark leaves and few flowers may be receiving more nitrogen than it needs, or it may be sitting in conditions too hot for reliable flower development. Before adding fertilizer, examine the sunlight, moisture, crown position, and recent temperatures. Fertilizer cannot correct an overheated root zone. Harvest day-neutral berries when the fruit has developed full color, including the shoulder near the green cap. A berry that is red only at the tip may look ready from a distance, but can still taste sharp. Strawberries do not become dramatically sweeter after picking, so the final stage on the plant matters. Pick during the cooler part of the morning after surface moisture is dried, hold the stem or cap rather than squeezing the fruit, and place the berries in a shallow container so the lower layer is not crushed. The second choice is the everbearing strawberry. Garden labels sometimes make this name sound as though the plant will produce without pause. In practice, everbearing types commonly give 2 or more notable flushes, often with a stronger crop earlier and another later when conditions improve. The pattern varies with variety and climate, but the practical lesson is simple. Everbearing means repeated opportunities, not an endless stream of fruit in every week of extreme heat. This type works well in railing planters, broad patio pots, and hanging baskets where air can move around the foliage. Hanging baskets look attractive, but they dry quickly because wind and heat reach the container from several sides. During hot weather, check the moisture below the surface rather than judging only by the top layer. A basket that dries completely may lose flowers and developing berries, even if the plant recovers after watering. Everbearing strawberries can be especially useful where the hottest part of summer temporarily slows production. Protect the plant, maintain healthy leaves, and allow it to resume flowering when temperatures moderate. That is a more realistic strategy than forcing the plant with heavy fertilizer during a heat wave. If the plant is stressed, first reduce afternoon heat, water deeply when needed, and remove damaged fruit or dead leaves. Resume light feeding only after active growth returns. The third strawberry is the alpine strawberry. Its fruit is much smaller than the oversized strawberries shown on many nursery tags, but the fragrance can be remarkable when the berries are allowed to ripen fully. Alpine strawberries form tidy clumps, and many produce fewer aggressive runners than common garden strawberries. This makes them useful along the front edge of a container display, in small pots near a seating area, or in a partly shaded corner where larger fruiting plants would feel crowded. However, alpine strawberries should not be sold as champions of extreme patio heat. They are often more comfortable in cooler summer regions or in locations with bright morning light and protection later in the day. On a scorching southern patio, the leaves may remain alive while flowering and fruit quality decline. Their value is not that they tolerate the hottest corner. Their value is that they fit small spaces, offer fragrant fruit, and can perform beautifully where summers are moderate. Because alpine fruit is small, it can move from almost ripe to overripe quickly. Watch the color closely and pick frequently. Birds and small animals may discover the fruit before you do, so a light, well-secured net can protect the crop. Do not drape loose netting directly over the plants where wildlife can become tangled. Support it above the leaves and secure the edges. All 3 strawberry groups benefit from clean mulch. A thin layer of straw or another suitable organic mulch can reduce soil splash, slow moisture loss, and keep fruit away from wet potting mix. Keep it clear of the crown. In very humid conditions, excessive mulch pressed against the plant can trap too much moisture. The goal is a cooler, cleaner surface with airflow, not a wet blanket around the growing point. Water at the soil level whenever possible. Constantly wetting flowers and fruit can encourage disease, especially in humid weather. That does not mean a leaf can never get wet. It means the regular watering method should deliver moisture to the roots without keeping the canopy damp for long periods. Morning watering gives the foliage and surface time to dry before night. Now decide what kind of strawberry harvest you actually want. Choose day-neutral plants for repeated small pickings when summers are moderate or when you can protect them during the hottest afternoons. Choose everbearing plants when 2 or more seasonal flushes fit your climate and schedule. Choose alpine strawberries when fragrance, compact growth, and a cooler patio position matter more than berry size. You can also combine them. A day-neutral plant may provide scattered fruit across a longer period. An everbearing plant may create stronger waves, and an alpine plant may fill a lightly shaded edge. Together, they make a more resilient strawberry display than 14 identical plants responding to heat at exactly the same time. The fastest visible reward in this entire garden may come from strawberries, but the next group can remain productive in containers for years. It also introduces the most important soil difference in this video. Once you move from strawberries to blueberries, ordinary potting soil is no longer an ordinary choice. Blueberries are attractive container plants because they combine spring flowers, summer fruit, colorful foliage, and a long life when their needs are met. They are also among the easiest berries to misunderstand. A blueberry can receive enough sunlight, regular water, and fertilizer, yet still become pale and weak because the chemistry around its roots is wrong. Most cultivated blueberries prefer an acidic root environment, commonly around pH 4.5 to 5.5. In a container, you can create that environment with a mix designed for acid-loving plants or a carefully prepared blend using suitable acidic components. The exact recipe is less important than 3 outcomes. The mix must remain acidic enough for the plant to access nutrients, it must hold useful moisture, and it must still drain freely. A dense, waterlogged pot is not rescued by having the correct pH. Do not add acidifying products blindly every time leaves lose color. Yellow leaves with greener veins can be associated with iron becoming unavailable when the root environment is too alkaline, but yellowing can also follow saturated soil, damaged roots, drought, or other stress. Check drainage, moisture, and the pH of the mix before assuming the plant simply needs more fertilizer. Adding more nutrients to an unhealthy root zone can make the problem worse. The first blueberry group is southern highbush. These blueberries were developed for regions with milder winters than traditional northern highbush country, but the name does not mean every southern highbush variety belongs everywhere in the south. Cultivars differ in chill requirement, bloom timing, heat response, and disease susceptibility. A plant suitable for one part of California may not be the best choice for the humid Gulf Coast, and a variety that blooms very early can be exposed to late frost in another region. For a container gardener, the correct approach is to choose a southern highbush cultivar recommended for the local area, then confirm its mature size. Some are easier to manage in pots than others. A young blueberry may arrive in a small nursery container, but a productive mature plant needs much more root volume. Move it gradually into a larger container with excellent drainage rather than placing a tiny root ball in an enormous wet mass of mix that stays saturated for too long. Southern highbush blueberries often benefit from morning sun and some protection from severe afternoon heat in the hottest climates. In a moderate coastal climate, more direct sun may be useful. The plant needs enough light to flower and develop flavorful fruit, but reflected patio heat can make the container far harsher than an in-ground site. Shield the pot from direct afternoon sun, even when the upper canopy still receives useful light. Many southern highbush varieties are capable of setting fruit on their own, but planting 2 compatible varieties with overlapping bloom can improve pollination, berry size, or overall yield in many situations. This does not mean placing 2 random blueberry plants together. They need compatible flowering periods, and both must suit the local climate. The tag, a local extension recommendation, or a reputable regional nursery can help with that match. The second group is Rabbiteye blueberry. Rabbiteyes are well known in many parts of the southeastern United States because they can handle heat and regional conditions better than some highbush types. They can become large plants, however, so a patio gardener must pay attention to cultivar size and pruning. A plant being called suitable for the South does not automatically make it suitable for a 10-gallon decorative pot forever. Rabbiteye pollination deserves special attention. Many cultivars perform best with a different compatible Rabbiteye variety flowering at the same time. A single plant may produce disappointing results even when it appears healthy. If space allows, use two compatible cultivars in separate containers positioned close enough for pollinating insects to move between them. Do not plant two large shrubs in one small pot and expect that to solve the problem. Container placement can also help pollination. A screened patio or high balcony with very little insect activity may have abundant flowers but poor fruit set. Avoid spraying insecticides during bloom, grow pollinator-friendly plants nearby when appropriate, and make sure the flowers are accessible. On calm days, gently moving flowering branches can assist pollen movement, but it does not replace compatible varieties and active pollinators. The third group is the dwarf half-high blueberry. Half-high blueberries combine traits from highbush and lowbush ancestry, and several remain compact enough to be practical in containers. They are especially valuable in colder regions because many tolerate winter conditions better than low-chill southern types. This is the blueberry for a gardener in a cooler northern climate who wants a manageable shrub, not a universal answer for Florida or the hottest parts of Texas. A dwarf half-high plant may fit the patio above ground, but winter protection must include the roots. Roots in a container are more exposed to cold swings than roots in the ground. In very cold regions, cluster pots in a protected location, insulate the container, or move it to an unheated, sheltered area that remains cold enough for dormancy without exposing the root ball to repeated severe freezing and thawing. Do not move a dormant blueberry into a warm living room for winter. It needs its seasonal rest. All three blueberry groups benefit from mulch that helps hold moisture and moderate root temperature. Pine bark or another suitable acidic organic material can be useful, but keep the mulch from being packed tightly against the stems. Check the moisture below it because the surface can look damp while the root ball is dry, or look dry while the lower pot is still wet. Blueberries have fine roots and do not respond well to repeated extremes. Allowing the container to dry severely, then flooding it, can reduce fruit quality and stress the plant. Water deeply enough to moisten the root zone, then wait until the upper portion begins to dry before watering again. The interval may be short during hot, windy weather and much longer during cool, cloudy periods. The plant and the pot decide the schedule, not the calendar. When fruit changes from green to blue, resist the urge to harvest immediately. Blueberries often continue improving in flavor after they first turn blue. A ripe berry usually releases easily with a gentle roll or touch. Harvesting in several passes allows each cluster to reach better maturity. This is one reason a blueberry patio can deliver repeated small bowls rather than one single picking. Bird protection may be necessary before the fruit fully colors. Use a supported net with edges secured so animals cannot enter underneath. If birds can land on the net and reach the clusters, it is too close to the plant. A simple frame around the container can protect the harvest while leaving space for airflow. Blueberries challenge the soil, water chemistry, pollination plan, and climate match all at once. But when those pieces align, they become long-lived anchors in a patio garden. Southern highbush types serve selected mild winter regions. Rabbiteyes are strong candidates for many warm southeastern climates when paired correctly, and dwarf half-high blueberries belong in colder regions where their compact size and winter adaptation provide an advantage. The next berries create a different problem. Their soil requirements are less specialized, but their canes can grow far beyond the pot. To grow raspberries well in containers, you must decide which canes you want to keep before the plant decides for you. Raspberries are tempting container plants because the fruit is expensive, delicate, and dramatically better when eaten soon after picking. They are also cane plants, which means the part above the soil changes from year to year. Understanding those canes is more important than memorizing a single pruning date. A primocane is a cane growing in its first season. A floricane is a cane in its second season. Traditional summer-bearing raspberries usually make fruit on floricanes, while primocane fruiting varieties can make a crop on the upper portion of first-year canes, often later in summer or in fall. Some primocane varieties may also produce another crop on the remaining lower cane the following year if it is not cut to the ground. This is why one universal pruning instruction can remove a future harvest. The first raspberry choice is a primocane red raspberry selected for container use or manageable growth. For a beginner, this fruiting habit can simplify pruning. One common method is to cut all canes near ground level during dormancy and grow a single late season crop on new canes. That method sacrifices the possible early crop from overwintered cane portions, but it makes the system easier to understand and can reduce the amount of old cane carrying disease. The exact timing and suitability depend on the variety and climate. A primicane red raspberry still needs a substantial container. A small nursery pot cannot support mature canes through heat, wind, and fruit development. Use a wide, stable pot with generous drainage and enough volume to reduce sudden moisture swings. A trellis or a few firm supports keep the canes upright and stop them from falling across a walkway. Tie them loosely so the stems can expand. Do not keep every cane. Crowded growth reduces airflow, shades the center, and makes fruit harder to find. Remove weak, damaged, and badly positioned canes. The number retained depends on container size and plant vigor, but the goal is an open clump with strong stems, not a dense bundle. Healthy leaves need light and moving air, especially in humid summer weather. Primicane red raspberries can offer fruit later than some spring and early summer berries, which makes them useful in a staggered patio plan. In extremely hot regions, however, late summer flowers and fruit can still suffer. Protect the pot from reflected heat, provide afternoon shade when necessary, and maintain consistent moisture while fruit is filling. Heat tolerance varies by cultivar, so use locally recommended varieties rather than assuming every primicane raspberry is suitable for the deep south. The second choice is a golden raspberry. Golden raspberries are usually color forms of red raspberry rather than a completely different kind of plant. Their pale yellow or amber fruit can be very sweet and is less visually obvious to some birds. Although it is not bird-proof, the golden color makes the container display more interesting, but color alone should never decide the purchase. Check whether the variety is primicane fruiting or floricane fruiting, how large it becomes, and whether it is recommended for your region. Golden fruit can be harder for a beginner to judge because it does not turn deep red. Look for the mature color described for the cultivar and test whether the berry releases easily. A ripe raspberry leaves the pale central core on the plant and slides away with little resistance. If you have to pull, it probably needs more time. Harvest frequently because fully ripe raspberries soften quickly. Golden raspberries need the same basic container discipline as red raspberries. A stable pot, even moisture, support, open canes, and an accurate pruning plan. Too much fertilizer can create long, soft growth that is difficult to support and may be more vulnerable to pests or weather. Feed according to plant growth and product directions rather than trying to force a bigger crop in midsummer. The third choice is a compact black raspberry. Black raspberry fruit is dark, aromatic, and often richer in flavor than many standard red types. The plant has a different growth habit, with arching canes that can root where their tips touch soil. In a patio container, keep those tips off neighboring pots unless you intentionally want another plant. A small trellis and regular tying help control the shape. Black raspberries are often less comfortable in extreme southern heat than the strongest warm climate blackberry choices. They are better suited to moderate summers or locations with morning sun and afternoon protection. Good airflow is especially important. Avoid packing the plant against a hot wall where air is still and leaves remain stressed. Container raspberries send up new shoots from the crown and sometimes from roots near drainage openings. A pot helps control spread, but it does not make the plant biologically compact. Check around the base, remove unwanted shoots, and prevent roots from growing into cracks or soil beneath the container. Place the pot on feet or a hard surface that you can inspect. Mulch helps, but keep it light enough that you can still assess moisture. A thick, constantly wet layer against the cane bases can create problems. In hot, dry climates, shielding the container wall can be as important as covering the soil. Place the cane canopy in useful light while keeping direct late-day sun off the pot whenever possible. Raspberries are ready when they release easily from the receptacle, leaving the hollow center that distinguishes them from blackberries. Pick into a shallow container, keep the fruit out of direct sun, and refrigerate promptly if it will not be eaten. Do not wash it until close to use because trapped moisture shortens storage life. The real decision is not red, gold, or black. It is whether your patio can support the cane habit, whether the variety fruits on first year or second year wood, and whether its summer climate needs can be met. Primicane red raspberries offer a clear pruning option and a later crop. Golden raspberries add a different color and similar care. Compact black raspberries provide distinctive flavor but usually deserve a more moderate position. If raspberries seem difficult to control, the next group offers thornless and dwarf choices. Yet one word on the plant label can still determine whether you prune away next season's fruit. Blackberries may look tougher than raspberries, but their fruiting habit decides how they must be trained, pruned, and protected from heat. The first blackberry choice is a thornless primocane fruiting variety. Thornlessness makes maintenance and harvesting easier on a narrow patio, while primocane fruiting creates the possibility of a crop on canes grown during the current season. That combination is attractive, but it does not make the plant maintenance free. The canes still need space, water, support, and the correct pruning plan. A large, stable container is essential. Blackberry canes act like sails in summer storms, so a tall, narrow pot can tip even when it holds enough soil. Choose a broad container with reliable drainage and use a trellis anchored independently when possible. A simple fan shape works well. Guide several strong canes upward and outward, leaving the center open enough for air and harvest access. With primocane fruiting blackberries, some gardeners cut all canes down during dormancy and grow one crop on new canes. Others preserve selected cane portions when the cultivar and climate permit another crop. Read the label carefully and verify the variety before pruning. Thornless describes the presence of thorns. It does not tell you whether fruit appears on primocanes or floricanes. Heat can affect blackberry flowers and fruit even when the plant appears tougher than raspberry. In hot, dry regions, berries exposed to intense sunlight may develop pale or damaged drupelets. Protecting the plant during the harshest afternoon period can preserve fruit quality. Keep water consistent while the berries expand, but never allow the container to stand in a saucer of stagnant water. The second choice is a dwarf patio blackberry. Compact cultivars are useful because their shorter internodes and more restrained canes fit small spaces better than standard trailing plants. Some can grow with minimal support, although a short stake or ring keeps fruiting stems upright. Their reduced size also makes bird netting easier. Dwarf does not mean tiny roots. A compact blackberry may remain shorter above the soil while still requiring a generous root zone. Keeping it in a decorative pot that is too small causes rapid drying, weak growth, and poor fruit fill. Move the plant into a larger pot as the root system develops. Repot during a suitable cool period rather than during the most stressful heat of summer. A patio blackberry can be placed where the leaves receive morning and midday light while the pot itself is shaded. This separation is one of the most useful container tricks in the entire video. The canopy needs light for photosynthesis, but the roots do not benefit from a black plastic wall absorbing heat for 6 hours. A second empty outer pot, a light-colored cover, or strategic placement behind another container can shield the root zone without deeply shading the plant. The third cane fruit is Boysenberry, a hybrid berry with large dark fruit and a rich, tart, sweet flavor. Boysenberry has trailing canes and requires more horizontal management than a dwarf blackberry. It is best for a gardener who can provide a fan trellis, railing support, or wall wires with enough space to separate new canes from fruiting canes. Boysenberry is not the best universal recommendation for an exposed desert patio. It performs more comfortably in moderate climates or in a protected position with strong morning light and relief from severe afternoon heat. Where summers are hot, a container can work only if the gardener is prepared to protect the roots, maintain moisture, and prevent the long canes from baking against a wall. Training makes the harvest easier. Spread the canes so leaves are not stacked into a dense mass. Keep developing fruit off the floor and guide new canes separately when possible. After a floricane has finished fruiting, remove it according to the plant's fruiting cycle, leaving healthy new canes for the following season. Wear gloves, even with varieties described as nearly thornless, because some stems can still be rough. Blackberry and boysenberry fruit changes color before it reaches its best flavor. A blackberry that has just turned black can still be firm and tart. As it ripens, it becomes slightly softer, loses some of its hard shine, and releases more easily. Pick with a gentle lift. Unlike raspberry, the receptacle remains inside the fruit, so the berry is not hollow. Do not wait until every fruit is soft. Overripe berries crush easily and attract insects. Harvest in several passes, placing fruit in a shallow container. Remove damaged or leaking berries so they do not spoil the rest. If you are protecting the crop with netting, install it before birds learn the location and keep it supported away from the fruit. Cane fruit also benefits from sanitation. Remove dead leaves and old fruit from the container surface. Cut diseased or dead canes with clean tools. Avoid leaving a dense curtain of foliage against a wall where humidity remains trapped. A healthy blackberry can be vigorous, but vigor without structure creates a difficult plant and lower quality fruit. These three choices serve different patios. Thornless primocane blackberry suits gardeners who want easier picking and a current season fruiting option. Dwarf patio blackberry offers a compact canopy for limited space. Boysenberry rewards a gardener with room for a trained, trailing plant and a climate that does not punish it with relentless afternoon heat. The most heat-friendly plants are not always the berries gardeners expect, and the final two choices change the shape of the patio garden completely. Instead of another low cane plant, the next crop grows into a small fruiting tree that can remain productive in a large container. The 13th plant is a dwarf mulberry. Although mulberries are not always grouped with strawberries and caneberries in ordinary garden lists, their small clustered fruits fill the same patio role. They are eaten fresh, ripen in repeated passes, and can deliver an abundant warm season harvest. A compact or dwarf cultivar is essential because a standard mulberry can become a full-size tree. Dwarf mulberry brings height to the patio. Place it behind lower strawberries and blueberries so the garden has layers rather than a flat row of pots. As the tree grows, use a container large enough to stabilize the canopy and support a substantial root system. A mature container specimen may need roughly 20 to 30 gallons, depending on cultivar, pruning, climate, and the gardener's ability to manage water. Mulberry is generally more comfortable with summer warmth than many cool climate cane fruits once it is established. That does not make a small newly transplanted tree immune to heat. Protect a recently repotted plant, water deeply, and avoid severe root disturbance during a heat wave. A large container dries more slowly than a small one, but it can still become dangerously hot when dark sides face afternoon sun. Mulberries ripen unevenly, so expect repeated picking. Fully ripe fruit becomes soft, deeply colored for the cultivar, and easy to remove. Some varieties drop ripe fruit with very little disturbance. That creates the plant's biggest patio drawback. Dark juice can stain pale concrete, outdoor fabric, and shoes. Do not place the pot beside a white rug or directly over a surface that is difficult to clean. A washable mat or a location over gravel can save frustration. Birds also notice mulberries quickly. Harvest often and use protection only if it can be installed safely around the tree. Netting a small tree is more difficult than netting a strawberry pot, so choose a compact canopy and support the net away from branches. Never leave loose loops where wildlife can become trapped. The 14th plant is Cape gooseberry, also called goldenberry or Physalis peruviana. This is not the same plant as the cool climate European gooseberry, which grows as a thorny shrub and often prefers milder summers. Cape gooseberry is a warm season tomato relative plant that holds each golden fruit inside a papery husk. It belongs in this list because it performs in containers, enjoys warmth, and offers repeated harvests as individual husks mature. A 5 to 10 gallon container can support a Cape gooseberry, depending on variety and season length. Give it a well-drained standard fruiting plant mix rather than the strongly acidic blueberry setup. The stems can become sprawling, so add a cage or several stakes early. Supporting the branches before they carry fruit is easier than trying to lift them after they bend. Cape gooseberry handles heat better than currants, honeyberries, and European gooseberries, but it still produces best with even moisture. Drought can cause flowers or young fruit to drop, while constantly wet soil weakens the roots. Water deeply, allow the upper layer to begin drying, and keep the plant from standing in runoff. Cape gooseberry can continue flowering and setting fruit through warm weather, making it one of the better candidates for repeated summer picking. In regions with a long frost-free season, it may produce for months. In colder climates, it is often grown as an annual, even though it is perennial in frost-free conditions. Do not promise the same season length in Minnesota and Southern California. The climate warning most berry lists ignore is simple. Some excellent container berries do not belong in extreme heat. Currants, honeyberries, and European gooseberries can be outstanding patio crops in cooler northern or coastal climates. They may offer fragrant fruit and compact growth, but placing them in the hottest corner of a southern patio and calling them heat tolerant is misleading. This is why Cape gooseberry appears here instead of the European gooseberry shrub. The two plants share a common name but differ in family, growth habit, climate preference, and fruit structure. Confirm the botanical identity before buying. A photograph of a golden fruit in a papery husk identifies Cape gooseberry. A woody shrub with translucent berries is a different crop. Now all 14 plants are on the table. The largest difference in the final harvest will come from 5 decisions that have nothing to do with buying another berry plant. Before choosing your final patio combination, fix the container environment that every one of these crops must depend on. The first decision is sunlight. In a hot climate, morning sun is often more useful than the same number of hours late in the afternoon. Observe the patio through an entire day. A corner that feels pleasant at 9 in the morning may become an oven beside a west-facing wall at 4. Move sensitive containers before the hottest period rather than waiting for scorched leaves to prove the location is wrong. Do not confuse afternoon protection with deep shade. Fruiting plants still need bright light to build healthy leaves and flavor. The goal is to soften reflected heat, not hide the garden in darkness. An open lattice, light shade cloth, or nearby railing can reduce the harshest exposure while preserving airflow. The second decision is root zone temperature. Use light-colored containers when possible. Place dark pots inside a larger decorative sleeve with an air gap, or shield the sun-facing side. Raise pots slightly above concrete so drainage holes remain open and less heat transfers directly from the floor. Do not block drainage with a flat saucer full of water. Mulch can reduce evaporation and moderate surface temperature. Apply a clean layer appropriate to the crop, then leave space around strawberry crowns, blueberry stems, and cane bases. Mulch is not a substitute for checking moisture. Push it aside and feel the mix below. A container can remain wet under mulch longer than expected after a cool or cloudy day. The third decision is watering deeply and consistently. Water slowly enough for the entire root ball to absorb moisture. If the mix has shrunk away from the pot wall, water may rush through the gap and create the illusion of thorough irrigation. Apply part of the water, pause, then water again. Confirm that the pot drains, but do not assume drainage alone proves every part of the root zone became wet. Avoid a rigid daily schedule. A strawberry basket in wind may need attention sooner than a large mulberry container. A blueberry and bark-based mix behaves differently from a Cape gooseberry in a standard potting blend. Check each container according to its size, plant, weather, and stage of growth. Developing fruit increases demand, while cloudy weather reduces it. The fourth decision is feeding. Do not push a heat-stressed plant with a strong dose of fertilizer. A plant with hot or damaged roots cannot use nutrients normally, and extra salts can increase stress. Stabilize moisture, provide appropriate shade, remove clearly damaged material, and wait for active growth before returning to a light feeding program. Use fertilizer suited to the crop. Blueberries need nutrition compatible with acid-loving plants in the existing pH. Strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, mulberries, and Cape gooseberries have different growth patterns and should not all receive the same product at the same rate. Follow label directions, start conservatively in containers, and respond to the plant rather than the promise on the package. Excess nitrogen often produces soft, leafy growth at the expense of flowers and manageable structure. This is particularly frustrating in strawberries and caneberries, where a lush plant can occupy the whole patio without giving a useful harvest. More fertilizer is not the same as more flavor. Sweetness depends on genetics, healthy foliage, sufficient light, stable moisture, and full ripeness. The fifth decision is harvest timing. A strawberry should be colored to the shoulder. A blueberry should release easily after spending additional time on the plant following its first color change. A raspberry should slip from its central core without force. A blackberry should be fully dark, slightly softened, and easy to lift. A Cape gooseberry should have a dry tan husk and mature golden fruit. A mulberry should release with little
When they've
resistance
spent
and
enough
show the
time on the
mature
plant,
color
they
of
should
its
just
cultivar.
fall right into your
Harvest
hand
during
like
the
that.
cooler morning after dew or
See how
surface
easily that
moisture has
detached.
dried. Use shallow containers, keep fruit shaded, and cool delicate berries promptly. If you are storing them, avoid washing until shortly before use. Water trapped among soft berries encourages rapid spoilage. Sort damaged fruit immediately rather than allowing one leaking berry to spoil the rest. Frequent harvest also supports plant health. It removes overripe fruit that attracts insects, reveals hidden disease, and encourages you to inspect leaves, stems, ties, and moisture. A few minutes of regular observation is more effective than waiting for a serious problem to become obvious from inside the house. These 5 decisions cannot turn a cool climate berry into a desert crop, and they cannot make every variety equally sweet. They can, however, protect the potential already built into the right plant. With sunlight, root temperature, water, feeding, and harvest timing under control, you no longer need all 14 crops. You need the right 4 or 5 for the summer climate you actually have. For a hot southern patio, begin with plants selected for regional warmth rather than berries chosen only for their appearance. Use a day-neutral or everbearing strawberry where it receives morning sun and afternoon protection. Add 2 compatible Rabbiteye blueberries when that group is recommended locally, or choose locally suitable southern highbush cultivars with overlapping bloom. Give each blueberry its own large acidic container. For vertical production, add a thornless primocane blackberry recommended for the region. It can provide a later crop without the confusion of preserving every old cane. Cape gooseberry fills a sunny, warm space and offers repeated fruit inside protective husks. If the patio can support a very large pot, a dwarf mulberry adds height and a warm season harvest. Keep it away from pale surfaces that stain. Arrange this garden in layers. Strawberries occupy the front edge or railing. Blueberries form the middle level. Raspberries, blackberries, or boysenberry rise behind them on supports. Keep enough space between containers to reach every plant, inspect drainage, and harvest without breaking canes. A patio that looks full but cannot be maintained will not remain productive. Winter care becomes the major challenge in this setup. Choose containers that tolerate freezing, protect exposed root balls from extreme temperature swings, and keep dormant plants cold rather than moving them into a heated room. Grouping containers in a sheltered location or insulating their sides can reduce stress. Continue checking moisture occasionally because dormant roots should not remain bone dry. This is the honest meaning of keeping a patio productive. It does not mean every plant makes fruit every day from June through September. It means you select day-neutral or repeat fruiting crops where appropriate, combine early and late harvest windows, protect plants through temporary slow periods, and let different containers take turns delivering fruit. A productive patio berry garden is not built by choosing the plant with the biggest fruit on the nursery shelf. It is built by matching every berry to the right climate, container, root temperature, sunlight, pollination plan, and harvest season. Before buying your next berry plant, write down 3 things: the hottest afternoon exposure on your patio, the winter chill pattern in your region, and the amount of space available for a mature plant and its support. Those answers will eliminate the wrong choices faster than any beautiful tag. Then choose one plant that can reward you quickly, one long-lived shrub, one vertical cane fruit, and one crop that extends the harvest later into summer. Start with a manageable group, learn how each container dries, and expand only when the first plants are healthy. When every container has the right plant and every plant has the right place, even a small summer patio can give you sweet fruit more than once before the season ends. Tell us which berry you are growing and the state or climate where your patio is located. Your experience may help another gardener choose the plant that finally works. A small harvest picked at full ripeness is more rewarding than a large collection of stressed plants chosen without a plan.